Well, we're here in central London, another refuge from the city. EF Press giving you a little lesson in semiotics. It's a short dictionary for those reporting on Julian Assange, and the use of language, the meaning behind the words, the phrases, signs and symbols. Anything that stands for something other than itself. I think I start with absconding. This is used by journalists, prosecutors, judges to describe the national and internationally recognised status of asylum. Also, you can see evasion, fleeing British justice, fugitive and spy, similar terms. We move on to E, the Espionage Act, 1917, the US federal jurisdiction, an archaic piece of legislation used to imprison anti-war protesters and activists. And this law is much favoured by Barack Obama and latterly our good friend Donald Trump. Well, H, the hostile intelligence agent, which you can read for as a meaning a publisher of the truth. Obviously, Julian somewhat hostile to the merchants of death and the preachers of hate, publishing matters of public interest and institutional criminality. It's very unpopular with some, but very revealing to the public. See also endangering security operatives, Russian asset and Putin puppet. We move on. A very short dictionary, this one. You can add your own interpretations of the language used by the British and other media and security services, judiciary and prosecutors. And we move on to R, rape charges. Well, after 9 years, 3 different Swedish prosecutors and one of the longest preliminary investigations in the history of Swedish jurisprudence, still no charges. There were never any charges. He has never been charged with this offence by any jurisdiction. And despite the fact that the Swedish prosecutors on many occasions have tried to drop their investigations and have nothing to do with the farce that is the extradition request for Julian by the US, but the UK CPS and the US Attorney General keep them at it and tell them that they must pursue these things because it's a useful fillip to their story that he is a criminal. Also, you can refer to the use of the terms narcissist and sex beast. And finally, I'll do a quick wrap up just to give you an idea on the W's. Whistleblower. Julian Assange is not a whistleblower. He's a journalist and he's a publisher. A whistleblower, most commonly, is a government worker who does not access the official channels of complaint and decides to leak a story, usually of criminality or misfeasance by their employers, often a state employer, but it can be private. And by this standard, Whistleblowers include people like Donald Trump, his cabinet, the British Boris Johnson and his cabinet, the security services, the judiciary, the prosecutors. They all whistleblow. They leak like mad. And when it comes to things like Russiagate, Irangate, and now Ukrainegate, they leak, they leak, they leak. They're all leaking. We're blowing the whistle on each other, left, right and centre. And as Chris Hedges informs us, this is the elites devouring themselves, willing to sacrifice their friends and billionaire elite company directors to the beast of a hostile media. So when they call Julian Assange a whistleblower, they are lying. He is not. Chelsea Manning is a whistleblower. Edward Snowden is a whistleblower. But Julian Assange is not. So a short semiotic dictionary on the terms they use to describe and vilify Julian Assange, and I will be most welcome if people can make their own entries under whatever letter or word they feel needs some definition, for us who read the news with a very sceptical eye and are used to reading between the lines and interpreting the nonsense that they talk about for the reality of what is actually a matter of freedom of speech. Your freedom, my freedom, and more importantly, Julian's freedom from persecution, prosecution, and in confinement. EF Press, getting back to you with a little bit of education.